Well, welcome everyone to the public session of the Halifax Regional Water Commission board meeting for February 27th. My apologies for anybody who was waiting to attend the public session and the delay that we've had in getting going. The in-camera session was a fairly busy morning for us this morning. And as I say, I do apologize if anyone's been waiting to join in to this meeting. The first item on the agenda is ratification of in-camera motions. Is someone prepared to move that motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And moved by Kathy Dealgam, seconded by Commissioner Purdy. The motion is that the Halifax Water Board ratify the in-camera motions. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising their hand.
Aye.
Negative, no negative votes, so a motion approved. The agenda has been circulated, and is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? There is a motion to approve the order of business and the agenda be approved as presented. Would anyone care to move that motion? Commissioner Steele, seconded by Commissioner Purdy. All those in favor? Motion passed. There's no business arising from the minutes. And so item 4.1 is the operating results as of December 31st, 2025. Mr. De Montfort.
And Nicole, if you can just open up that presentation and in the interest of
I'm
time.
sorry, Mr. Nadeau-Gammon has.
Did we approve the minutes of December 5th?
Let's see. I thought we had, but if not,
I know we did the order of business. I was just.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Item number 3 is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on Friday, December 5th, 2025, and they have been circulated. Is there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Deagle-Gammon, seconded by Commissioner Steele. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Minutes approved. Thank you for that. Sorry about missing that. Okay, 4.1, operating results.
Nicole, if you can open up that report and just go to table 1. I always start by highlighting the cash that we have in the bank, and currently at the end of December, we had approximately $99 million in the bank. As of yesterday, we continue to have approximately $90 million in the bank. So in good financial position from a cash perspective. If you can go just a little further down, Nicole, to the operating results. And what we have at the end of December, we actually have, sorry, Nicole, a little further down to the operating
Apologies,
results.
I just had a quick glitch. You should be able to see that.
Absolutely, thank you. So in table 3, we highlight our operating revenues and expenditures. We have a deficit at the end of December of approximately $19.7 million compared to our budgeted deficit for the year of $34 million. We are ahead, I would say, or slightly better off than we would have expected at this point. Revenues continue to be a bit higher than we had budgeted. We also have expenditures primarily on the wastewater side that are slightly below where we would have been. All in total, we're in reasonable shape from a operating deficit perspective. And if you can just go to the operating results by service in table 9, just a quick summary of where we're at. by service. So we have a deficit on the water side of about $16 million, wastewater at about 1.6, and stormwater at just over 2 million. So as I mentioned, still reasonable compared to where our budget is. Certainly on the wastewater side, with the slight increases in revenue that we see there, and a slight decrease in the expected expenditures, that deficit is a bit ahead of where we would have expected. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And Mr. Montburn, by a bit ahead, you mean it's less of a deficit than anticipated?
Exactly. Thank you.
Any questions in terms of the operating results? Yes, Commissioner Cottle?
With the revenues that you're talking about, the unexpected revenues, where are those primarily coming from?
It's primarily related to the increases in consumption relative to what we would have budgeted in 25, 26. We had budgeted for an increase in consumption revenue at about 2%. It's tracking in the neighborhood of 3 to 3.4%. So that 1% increase or so is what's driving the revenues.
And is that related to increase in use, or is that related to changes in rates?
There's no impact on the rates as yet because these are December results. The increase in rates would take effect for the next quarter.
So it's just consumption. Okay.
It's just
Thank
consumption. Yep.
Thank you. And are there any other questions concerning the operating results to the end of December 2025? Not seeing any. We'll move to the next agenda item 4.2, capital expenditures to December 31st, 2025.
There's a nice little table. Thank you, Nicole. Two things we like to highlight here. One is the average capital spend by month. We are seeing it increase again this month from 8.4 million last year to approximately $9.1 million per month in the current fiscal year, which is a positive story for us. The other part that we highlight, we have total budget. So this is all approved capital projects and open work orders of 368 million. We spent 115, almost 116 million to the end of March last year. We've spent a further almost $82 million so far this year. So we still have approximately $197 million in capital that we have available to spend as it currently stands. So that's our snapshot. We continue to, I think the summary is we continue to spend at a rate ahead of where we were this time last year.
Thank you, Mr. de Montburn. Are there any questions about that? Okay, hearing or seeing none, we'll move to other business. Number 5, the proposed 2026-2027 business plan from Kendra McKenzie. I would just note that both the proposed business plan, proposed operating budget, and proposed capital budget were the subject of a board workshop this week, and there was an extensive review of the items in all 3 of those documents with all of the board of commissioners present. Kenda.
Yes, thank you very much. And good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today to propose our business plan for fiscal 26-27. And if we can go to the next slide, please, Nicole. As everyone is aware, last year we put forward our 5-year strategic plan to get us to Halifax 2030. And so what you're seeing before you is year 2 of our journey to the 2030 goal. And what we have done in completing and developing this business plan, we're building off all the great work that our teams have done to date in 25-26. And when we're setting the goals for this year, we're focusing in on accountability and transparency and cost effectiveness. As we know, those are key drivers that we need to be putting forward for our customers. Some of the things that are within the business plan are guided and informed by our recent general rate application, as well as aligning with the 5-year priorities that we set last year. We will be focusing on improving our asset management practices, enhancing our service delivery, and strengthening our overall organizational resilience. And when I mention resilience, it's of our infrastructure, but also of our people. They are one of our biggest, most valued resources in the organization. And as we look to the 26-27 business plan, we'll be managing our customer dollars responsibly and carefully planning our infrastructure investments. We're going to be improving our financial oversight, strengthening our governance, and meeting our regulatory requirements while considering affordability. We'll be looking to improve our service reliability by strengthening operational resilience, standardizing key processes, planning for growth, and using data and technology to improve efficiencies and performance. As well, there's some very significant projects that are on our future, which would be considered generational projects. We'll be continuing the build of our Burnside Operations Center and advancing our water supply enhancement program, delivery of our biosolids facility upgrade, as well as the upgrade required for our Mill Cove wastewater facility. Next slide, please. The other key themes that we use in guiding our business plan for this year is ensuring there's alignment with our strategic pillars of people, environment, health and safety and social responsibility, financial and regulatory compliance, and operational effectiveness. And in setting our 5-year plan last year, we established 4 objectives that aligned with these 4 pillars that we are trying to advance and get to in the balance of our 5-year journey. Next slide. So looking into some details that you'll be seeing in our delivery of this year's goals and object goals. From the people side of the business, we'll be continuing to advance our psychological health and safety strategy and looking to incorporate that into our safety management system. As well, there'll be a lot of themes around continuing career development and providing our leadership framework, offering opportunities for self-improvement and building on the focus of understanding roles and expectations and empowering our leaders to guide the organization and our delivery of services. Next slide. As well, we're in the same competitive job market, I think, as a number of industries and businesses are. And so we'll be implementing our strategic recruitment and attraction plan with some priority initiatives early on in the fiscal year. We'll be looking again, building on the leadership framework of providing development opportunities for our future leaders and looking for mentorship opportunities as we deliver our services. As well, we'll be looking at identifying and mitigating the potential of any resource gaps as it relates to critical roles within the organization. And all of this will be integrating into our rollout and continued planning of succession planning and establishing key processes to ensure that we're monitoring and reporting on our succession planning achievements going forward. Next slide. In the environment, health, safety, and social responsibility pillar, We have a really good occupational health and safety program currently within Halifax Water, and we've been improving and advancing our incident reporting and follow-ups. And so we'll be continuing to grow that program and improve it through its measured path. As well, we'll start to introduce audits of our fire safety plans that we were able to implement across our facilities. We'll be doing our first draft of a centralized Halifax Water Security Plan, consolidating and bringing together all of the plans that we have into one concise document. We'll be commencing the implementation of the elements of our electrical safety program, and that'll be focused on training and inspections and updating safe work practices as it relates to electrical safety within the organization. We'll be executing activities that have been identified in our emergency management strategic plan and keeping that program growing and improving and enhancing it along the year. As well, we will continue to enhance our cybersecurity program and preparedness, building on some of the findings from the Municipal Auditor General and continuing to deliver our programming based on the roadmap we've designed. Next slide. Further, we'll be developing an adaptive planning framework for municipal drinking water supply, looking at plans that we can have in place to address any impacts or influences from climate events and or growth that may have on our drinking water supply. As well, we have an existing, we'll be assessing our existing dam management program, looking for opportunities to improve that, but also to integrate that in as well into our safety management system. As well, we have a water loss control program, and we'll be looking to enhance and advance that a little bit further, looking at any new technologies that exist in industry, but looking to try and capture a few more leaks than we already are.
And if I could just ask a quick question there.
Certainly.
It's my understanding that there has been, in fact, a water loss control program for a considerable period of time in Halifax Water, and that generally speaking, Halifax Water has been considered a leader in that field.
That is correct. We do have a long-standing water loss control program, and you are correct. A lot of our industry peers reach out to us for advice in starting up their own program or enhancing those. And now we want to leverage some of the new technology and start to take that program to the next level, basically.
Okay, thank you.
As well, we're going to be exploring opportunities for demand side management and how we can help our customers look for opportunities to conserve water further. There'll be an enhancement of our education and awareness plans as it relates to internal processes and procedures for various customer related programs and increased customer compliance. As well, we'll be looking to develop the framework for implementing a water service backflow prevention retrofit program for what we would consider our low risk customers in the institutional, commercial, industrial class. Next slide. Under financial and regulatory compliance, we have our current integrated resource plan underway, and we'll be continuing to work with our consultant and our teams in developing that and looking at regional servicing strategies for infrastructure requirements. And that plan is the 30-year plan that looks at what our regional infrastructure needs to be based on the drivers of asset renewal, compliance, and growth. We will continue improvements to our capital project planning and delivery through process and software development. And this will be also being driven by outcomes of our institutional capacity assessment and collaboration and feedback from our regulatory appeals board, recent decisions and directives. So we'll be looking to improve how we're tracking and delivering capital. As well, we'll be enhancing our financial management processes to better inform budget, capital investment, and debt strategies. And some of that information will be contained in a future rate application in the fall. Next slide, please. As well, we'll be looking to address any gaps that have been identified in our regulatory processes to help enhance corporate governance framework and align with industry best practices. And as I just mentioned, we'll be submitting a general rate application by September for what we consider test years 27-28 and 28-29. And so there is a suite of directives coming from our recent rate application that will be incorporated into this upcoming one. And looking at our operating expenses for maintenance and repair and upgrade of aging infrastructure, and also ensuring safe, reliable service to our customers. Next slide, please. Under the pillar of operational effectiveness, we'll be continuing to enhance our operational resiliency by developing, we have a quality management system currently in place for our water, but we'll be looking to expand that to take into consideration the wastewater services that we deliver. We are continuing to work through the corrective actions that were identified through the Boil Water Advisory. We have an operational resiliency team and operational resilience that is delivering the operational resilience program. And we are hoping to complete the medium-term corrective actions by the end of this fiscal year. We'll also be looking at project delivery strategies for some of these major upcoming projects that I mentioned earlier as they relate to our water supply enhancement program and the upgrades that are required at our Mill Cove wastewater treatment facility. As well, some of our management systems that I mentioned, our safety management system, our water quality management system, will be looking to standardize the approaches and putting those into what we would refer to as an integrated management system, and identifying processes and define continual improvement pathways using a certification readiness framework by Q4. Next slide. We will be filing an updated regional development charge by July of this year, and looking at some of the directives that came from the 2020 application, and building off some of the interested party engagement sessions that we've had to date, and there'll be some future ones near term to inform that application. As well, we'll be continuing to align with our provincial and municipal partners on development intensification planning and understand better the mid and long-term impacts on our water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure. As well, establish the framework, foundational framework that defines our core services, service users, and service attributes to enable identification of the gaps that are required for data to measure customer-focused levels of service. As well, looking for opportunities to leverage AI to support some of our organizational objectives and enhance our operational efficiencies. Next slide. So that is an overview of our proposed 26-27 annual business plan, and myself and the team are here to field any questions that you may have.
Do the commissioners have either any questions or comments? Commissioner Steele.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Kenda. I know you talked about human resources and some of your approaches to recruitment and retention. I understand the Regulatory Appeals Board put some caps on your human resources growth over the next while, and also impose some requirements around how you address vacancy management. At the same time, I know there's an institutional capacity review underway. So maybe can you elaborate a bit on the impacts of some of these decisions and upcoming activities?
Certainly. So I'll start off and may draw from some of the team as well. So with the recent rate application, the Regulatory Appeal Board had basically reviewed our hiring new FTEs, and in their decision said that the new FTE amount of spend had to be capped at essentially $5.4 million between fiscals 25-26 and 26-27. So what that is doing, it's when we go to look at our new FTE list for 26-27, we've prioritized the FTE ask, and with the focus on delivery of our capital program and continued operational resiliency and service delivery and cyber security. And so we are proceeding with focusing in on improvements to those programs and the FTE requirement to facilitate that. And then the vacancy management system, I may get Louis just to speak to how that was incorporated into the cost of service.
Yeah, so thank you, Kenda. What Halifax Water did is we estimate the amount of savings that we would have related to vacancies and turnover of approved positions. We had in our rate application estimated that number to be about 2% of salaries. When the regulator looked at the speed at which we're filling positions, they determined that a more appropriate percentage would be 4%. So we increased the amount of expected savings, and that would reduce our total compensation costs.
Yeah, thank you. And then on the institutional capacity assessment, that was a document, a third-party study that we had submitted to the utility board. And we went through what we would call a paper hearing to get feedback and input on the outcomes and findings of that report. It predominantly was focused on our capacity from a resource perspective to deliver capital programs and made recommendations for us to implement. And a number of those we've already been planning and working into our business plan for this year and coming years. And in some cases, it's not just about hiring more people, it's looking at the processes and the framework to deliver these capital projects. And so we have layered a number of those recommendations into our business plan, and we'll be looking to implement those going forward. And we are also going to be providing an update in June to the Regulatory Appeals Board on some of the statuses of those initiatives.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? I just have one quick one, Kenda. Given that this is a part of a 5-year plan, how would you judge where the organization is in terms of reaching the objectives of the 5-year plan?
Certainly. So I think we are currently updating the goals from last year. And as we look at how we're doing, we have made significant progress on delivering of those. And we have been, although we made the plans for this specific year, we also looked ahead to very high level year 3 and 4, just to see that as we set the goals for this year, are we going to be hitting our targets at year 5? And so I think the team is very comfortable that we're right sizing our goals and we're setting the stage to meet that 5-year target. So.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion in the agenda. Is anyone prepared to, someone like to move that motion? And Commissioner Purdy?
Sure. I move that the Halifax Water Board, one, approve the 2026-27 annual business plan as attached to this report, subject to non-substantive corrections and amendments. And two, direct the general manager to submit the final 2026-27 annual business plan to Halifax Regional Council for their approval.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Cuddle. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? It is approved. Thank you, Kenda.
Thank you, and thank you for your input throughout the journey here.
Okay, our pleasure. Item number 6 is the proposed operating budget, Mr. de Montper.
Thank you. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So what you have here in front of you is the summary of our proposed budget. The detail is in the report, and happy to answer any questions you may have on the detail. What we see here in front of us is our operating revenues based on our rate application are increasing significantly from the 25-26 budget that was approved by this board to the 26-27 budget. Our costs continue to grow on the operating side at about 5%. Our key expenditures around interest, repayment of long-term debt, amortization of the debt discount, dividend, were all part of the rate application and were the numbers that were approved by the Regulatory and Appeals Board. At the end of that slide, you see that we are budgeting for a surplus of approximately $1.4 million. That relates to almost equally between our regulated part of our business and our unregulated part of the business. The surplus represents approximately 0.6% of our overall revenue. Go to the next slide. So some of the key drivers around the revenue side, in our general rate application, the Regulatory Appeals Board told us that we should increase our estimated increase in consumption from the 1% that we had proposed to 1.82%. We continue to have no increase in our base rates. The consumption charges, the right-of-way charges, the stormwater charges, our private and public fire protection charges are all those that have been approved by the board. The key difference in this budget is we have increased the amount of the wastewater rebate by approximately $300,000. That is will show as an offset to the wastewater revenues as we look at the results by service. On the unregulated revenue side, we anticipate or have budgeted an increase in those revenues by about $200,000 year over year. If you can go to the next slide. So what this is a summary of our expenditures, our operating expenditures by our key components. So salaries, training, contract services, electricity, etc. I will go through sort of the key drivers of those in the next couple of slides. But you can see that the overall increase year over year is the 4.68% I just referenced earlier. The next slide, please. So on the salary side, our salaries are driven by our union contracts, which have been signed, I believe, November 1st, 2023. On the non-union side, we have budgeted an increase in salaries of approximately 2.75%. In reference to the questions earlier, Kenda spoke to the impact of the decision on the number of positions we've approved or we're proposing. So there's 17 built into the budget. Our rate application had proposed 32, so it has been a significant decrease. As members of the board know, the trustees of the pension plan approved an employer pension holiday, and we have continued to look at our allocations on the percentage of salaries applied to capital. So those three key items together have decreased the amount of salaries and benefits from what we had budgeted last year. On the professional services side, we have continued to see our costs primarily paid to support our regulatory processes increase. So we have built in increases into that part of the budget as well. On the next slide, please. So on the operating side, electricity, heating fuel, natural gas continue to be significant to the organization, and we've budgeted increases in the range between 5 and 15% to those costs. One of the key items that the regulator adjusted through the rate application process was our chemical costs. So they reviewed our chemical costs, compared our budgets compared to our historic actuals. They required us to reduce the estimates for chemicals, from in 25-26, and to reduce the increase that were proposed in our 26-27 budget. So we have made those adjustments into this budget that you see before you. The other key items I wanted to talk about was on the depreciation. We continue to budget significant increases in our capital. So those have been incorporated into the budgets for all three services. We also are planning budgeting an increase in new debt of approximately $90 million at a interest rate of about 4%. So that is driving some of the increases you will see in our debt and depreciation costs. This slide, it literally summarizes the surplus deficit by service. So on the water services, we're budgeting a very small deficit of approximately $173,000. Most of that is related to an increase of about $300,000 into our lead service line replacement program to reflect the increases in costs we've experienced there. The surpluses in wastewater and stormwater of $1.2 million and approximately $400,000. I think that's this last slide summarizes the accumulated surplus deficit for the organization. We have seen our accumulated surpluses decrease over the last number of years. We are currently budgeting a deficit in 25-26 based on the budget that was approved. With what we've just presented here, the slight increase of 1.4, the surplus of 1.4 million, we're starting to turn the corner and reduce that accumulated deficit.
Are there any questions of Mr. DeMontfort in regard to the budget? I have two. Yes, Commissioner Purdy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, my question was just on the reduction of the budget for chemicals, and just does this pose a risk to our ratepayers?
Through the rate application process, what the Regulatory Appeals Board did is looked at our historic budgets compared to our historic actual cost, and felt that we had been overly pessimistic concerning our budgets that we had put forward for chemicals. So they made the decision to reduce them in 25-26. and then increase them not as significantly as we had proposed. At the end of the day, our chemical costs are driven by the treatment processes that we use. To the extent that situations at the plant, whether or not we have floods or droughts, as we've had in the last number of years, those situations would be incorporated into the chemicals that we use and the cost. If we need to spend more than has been budgeted, we will do that. We will manage the implication of that cost increase on our overall budget. So we appreciate the analysis that the Regulatory Appeal Board did. At the end of the day, our actual chemical costs will be what we are required to operate the plants and treat our wastewater and produce safe water.
Okay, thank you. That's a relief. Thank you.
And Mr. Montman, 2 quick questions. Any of the inputs directed by the NSRAB, for example, you mentioned energy costs between 5 and 15%, and I think there was commentary in the decision about that, and chemical costs and all of those. This budget is built and based on whatever the RAB directed.
We looked at what they directed to the extent that there were other drivers that we had seen since then. Like I mentioned, the wastewater rebate, I mentioned the lead service line replacement program. We have made adjustments to what was included in the decision to reflect those new realities as we see them. So those have been incorporated, but primarily if we were given specific directives, we have incorporated those directives into this operating budget.
Right. So the consumption is set at the estimated consumption is set at the rate the RAB directed, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Okay. And one last, hopefully quick question. People might be wondering, if the utility has a 1.4 million surplus, why is there a rate application in September?
We've been directed by the Regulatory Appeal Board to file our next rate application by September. There was recognition that the gap between our 2022 rate application and our 2025 rate application, in their opinion, was too long between the two. They are looking for additional clarity in terms of what our rates are going to be going forward. So they have directed us specifically to file by the end of September.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, there is a motion in the agenda. Someone prepared to move that motion? Commissioner Steele?
Yes, it is recommended that the Halifax Water Board approve the attached proposed 26-27 operating budget, inclusive of the proposed 26-27 budget for unregulated activities.
Okay, is there a seconder? Commissioner Purdy? Any further discussion? Those in favor? Not reminded, none. Motion approved. I'd just like to note on the record that Commissioner Deagle-Glamon had to leave. This meeting was originally scheduled to end at 12. And obviously, we've run a bit over given the significant matters that we're looking at. But we have confirmed with the General Counsel that the commissioners who are still in the meeting form the legally required quorum. The next item is the number 7, the capital budget.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Josh DeYoung. I am the Director of Engineering and Capital Infrastructure here at Halifax Water. And today I have with us Kelsey Green, the Senior Manager of Asset Management and Capital Planning, who is going to run through the 26-27 capital budget.
Thank you, Josh, and good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kelsey Green, Senior Manager of Asset Management and Capital Planning, and let's get moving through this capital budget. Next slide, please. We're going to talk very briefly today about the drivers for the capital budget, the process for developing the capital budget, and then we're going to touch on the 26-27 capital budget highlights. Next slide, please. The drivers that influence capital budgets come out of three categories: asset renewal, which is the replacement of existing assets as they reach the end of their service life. There's growth, which is meeting the new service needs of the community. And there's compliance to ensure that our infrastructure is meeting the regulatory requirements. We also look at it through three planning lenses: strategic, where we're looking at high-level documents such as the 5-year strategic plan, integrated resource plan, and enterprise risk management; tactical level, and also the operational level, where we're looking at capacity to deliver, project timelines, growth and compliance, as well as health and safety. Next slide, please. So in developing the capital budget, we first look at what is a capital project. And the capital
Kelsey,
project...
pardon me, not to interrupt you, but we may be losing another commissioner in the relatively near future. So if you could, we have the materials, I think, that you're going through. If you could condense your presentation slightly, that would be helpful. And just as a heads up, I think it may be necessary when that commissioner leaves, we'll be losing quorum, to defer perhaps items 8 to 11 to the next meeting of the board. The board does have the background documentation in regard to each of those, and 3 of them are updates. The annual board compensation review, I think, can be deferred until the March meeting. So sorry to interrupt you, Kelsey.
Oh, thank you very much for that heads up. Would the board rather jump to the highlights of the capital budget rather than...
I think that would be the best way to go.
Okay. If we could go forward a few slides there until we get to there we go. So the proposed 26-27 capital budget has a total spending plan of 164.6 million. And that's made up of 164 million from our 3 service areas of water, wastewater, and stormwater, and 0.6 million of spend from our district energy projects. Now, that's the total spending plan. The net new capital that's being budgeted is $117.7 million, which and the difference between the spending plan and the net new capital is 46.9 million of unspent money from projects rolling forward. Next slide, please. Some statistics on the capital budget. There's in total 251 projects, and the top 10 projects have a combined total project value of $75.9 million. There are 30 projects with a value of over $1 million, and together those total $112.4 million. Of the remaining 221 projects, there's a total project value of $52.1 million. And if we look at just the projects $150,000 and less, those 118 projects total $8.5 million. In the capital budget of this year, there are 30 projects that are greater than $1 million and a total project cost, and will require approval from the RAB. These include 12 routine capital projects that will be going forward in the submission to the RAB this year. There's an additional 7 projects with a value between $1 and $5 million, which will go forward in preparation for larger spends in future years. And there is an additional 11 projects with budgets exceeding $5 million, which will come back to this board before proceeding to the RAB for approval. Next slide, please. This table provides a summary of breakdown between corporate projects and or the program category, as well as the proposed spend in the center column, and then the new spend that's being requested or being put forward in the budget on the right-hand column. One thing you may notice differently this year is that projects have been grouped a little bit more. So where they're grouped between water, wastewater, and stormwater service areas, those projects now fall into corporate projects and get attributed to those categories in our finance system. Next slide. And looking at the new funding sources by the funding source, the new funding requested by the funding source, we can see that there's 46.7 million that will be coming out of depreciation, 62.4 million coming from a debt, 4.7 from regional development charges, and 3.9 million almost coming from external funding. And for the last slide, we're already looking at our lessons learned from developing the capital budget this year, and we'll finalize those. But 3 areas we've identified for improvement for next year's capital budget are to enhance the project intake stage, to track and analyze capital project delivery throughout the year, and to continue to enhance and streamline the capital budgeting process, including the integration between our capital project system and our financial management system. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that, Kelsey. Are there any questions of Kelsey or Josh in regard to the capital budget? And yes, Commissioner Cuddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's been a lot of discussion over the past year around our fiscal sustainability. Capital projects are obviously a significant expense for us. I'm just wondering if you can just touch on a couple of things. One, external funding partners to help offset some of the costs to ratepayers. Where does that fit into our financial planning? How many have we applied for, and what have we received to date? And also the use of debt. Thank you.
So I can start, Kelsey, if you'd like. I think if you want to jump back to, or in your package as well, but one of the slides had identified that in the net new capital budget, there's approximately $4 million of external funding that's identified. And that's for, I believe, 3 projects we've received funding through the provincial government for.
And what's the total of those 3 projects in terms of cost?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, if we received 4 million in external funding for 3 projects, I'm just wondering what the total cost of those 3 projects are.
Don't have that number exactly, but based on what the projects are, my understanding of them, it's probably in the order of 6 to 8 million, and we received 4 million in funding.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can also touch on Kenda, and you can jump in on the CHIF funding if you'd like. We did apply for 3 projects through the federal program, the Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund, 2 of which were related to water treatment plant projects. Those projects were not successful in receiving any federal funding through that program. The 3rd project is the Windsor Street Exchange project that we're working through with HRM, and that one was not successful through the current program, but we have indications from that program that it will be eligible for future federal programs that are being constructed and developed at this time.
Okay, so it sounds like this year so far we have, in comparison to the overall capital project expenditures, haven't received a tremendous amount of external funding to help offset those costs. Okay, thank you.
No. And the new federal program, the details will be announced, we understand, shortly. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and looking for opportunities to look for any funding that we can get, and have indications from the provincial government that they're going to assist us with that and help with any opportunities they can.
Right, because otherwise the costs of these go to ratepayers and to debt servicing, capital contribution agreements, and regional development charges, which have also been frozen.
Louis, did you want to start that, or?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the question. If you can.
Yeah, I was just looking at the revenue to, for the expenditures on our capital projects, what the sources of revenue are for that. So if we're not receiving external funding, it would be, we have regional development charges, which are frozen at the moment still, I believe. Capital cost contributions and ratepayers.
Yeah, so I believe, Kelsey, those are identified in that one of the slides in terms of the funding sources, where they're coming from. There is money in the regional development charge account, that fund, to be able to fund any of the projects that are designated for regional, that are regional in nature, that would get money out of that. So there is money there set aside for that. I think the impact on freezing those charges will be more apparent in the future when we're looking to fund that infrastructure, the new infrastructure in future years. The growth in that fund would not be as significant as if those the charges had not been frozen. I think there was an additional question related to debt. Halifax Water will fund an issue debt when a project is put in service. So any of the items that you're seeing here before you today will only hit our rates in future years when those new assets are actually put in service. So, and the funding sources, as Kelsey identified, our two primary sources are the depreciation, which is the range of $46 million, which is built into our rates, and future debt, which I think on the slide was estimated about $64 million or so. So that will be additional funding sources that we will get in the future, and it will be built into rates only when those assets are put into service.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions? I would just note that Kelsey, in addition to his slide presentation, has submitted to the board, and as part of the board package, a detailed memo and with a number of attachments that set out, I'd say in granular detail, some of the capital spending. So there is a motion in the agenda. Would someone care to move that?
Sure.
Commissioner Steele?
That the Halifax Water Board approve the proposed 26-27 capital budget in the amount of $117.7 million, and 2, direct staff to file the 2026-2027 capital budget to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board.
Is there a seconder? Commissioner Cuddle? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? The motion is approved. As noted, we're having a problem maintaining quorum just because of other people's schedules and the length to which this meeting went, and some other events earlier this morning that have slightly delayed us getting on with this meeting. So, the information in regard to all those items is in the board package, and I think we can agree that they can safely be deferred, as there's only one action item and it is not of a high priority. So thank you all for hanging in there today. It's been a morning. And is there a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Steele? Thank you all very much. And
Thank you
enjoy
all.
the rest. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
you.
weekend. Bye.